Hello everyone, welcome to History class. Today we are going to start lesson 6 of History, Impact of British Rule in India. The main objectives of the lesson are you will come to know about impact of education, impact of transport and communication, and impact of art and culture in India during the British rule. And the topic of today is impact on education during the British rule in India. The main objectives of today's topic are you will come to know about native education, education under the British, Wood's dispatch, effects of Western education, and national education in India during the British rule. But before starting today's topic, let us discuss new words related to it. New words: colonial rule, a policy by which a powerful nation extends control over a weaker country. Madrasa, a Muslim school, college, or university that is often part of a mosque. Missionary, a person sent on a religious mission, especially one sent to promote Christianity. Orientalists, the European scholars who favored the study of law, philosophy, and literature of the East and Southeast Asia. Anglicists, the scholars who favored Western education and imparted it through the medium of English. Custom, practice followed by the people of a particular group. Oriental learning, the academic field of study that embraces Near Eastern and Far Eastern societies and cultures, languages, etc. Dispatch, an official report. Reformer, a person who works for change or betterment. Social reformer, a person who works for change or betterment in the society. Liberty, liberty means freedom. Nationalism, a feeling of love and pride for one's nation. By the middle of 19th century, the British became very powerful in India. They brought almost all the regions of India under their control during 1765 till 1857. Right from the beginning of their relationship with India, the British, who had come as traders and had become rulers and administrators, had influenced the economic and political systems of the country. Their impact on the cultural and social life of India was, however, gradual, and the long reign of the British in India had many positive as well as negative effects on India. Now let us read from the book about impact of British rule in India. The British brought almost all territories of India under their control during 1765 to 1857. They felt the need to administer them effectively. They came up with the new policies on education, administration, culture, society, and economy. Means by 1857, the British had brought almost all the regions of India under their control, and for controlling all those regions, the proper administration was required, and for that, the British made many new policies in various fields, like in the field of education, administration, culture, etc. And they claimed that these policies were made for the welfare of the people. In reality, these were aimed to maximize the colonial interest. Means all the policies which were made by the British were for their own benefit. They made all the policies for extending their control over India. Let's read what were the impacts of these policies and how people responded to them. First is impact on education. Native education. Native education means indigenous education. But before reading it from the book, let us discuss the main points. When the British came to India, at that time, indigenous system of education or native education was prevalent. And before the British rule, this type of education was imparted through a chain of elementary schools known as pathshalas and madrasas for higher education. And the education provided in such institutions were based on old texts like Vedas and their commentaries. Commentaries means explanations. So we can say that before the arrival of British in India, Vedas and their explanations were taught to the children. The pathshalas and madrasas were mostly single teacher schools with multiple class teachings. And the medium of instructions in these institutions was Sanskrit, Bengali, Hindi, Urdu, Persian, etc. And the education was imparted verbally by the teacher or guru. and the size of these institutions was generally small. There was no regular period of admission. At any time during the year, the pupil or child could join the school and followed his own pace of study. Now let us read from the book. The education system in India before the advent of the British was a traditional one. It was carried out in pathshalas and madrasas. Subjects like Sanskrit, Persian, grammar, poetry, geometry, and astronomy were taught. Science and geography were usually not taught. The students were not aware of the new developments in different fields. Printed books were not available to the students, and the mode of teaching was oral. Oral means verbal. As the Vedas, Sanskrit, Persian, grammar, poetry, etc. were taught to the children during the indigenous system of education, so they were not aware about the new developments in different fields. And even printed books were not available to the children, and the education was imparted verbally. There was no fixed time of admissions. There were no curriculums. Curriculums means syllabus. Fees were not fixed. So we can conclude that in native or indigenous system of education, there was no regular period of admission, and even there was no syllabus, and fees was not fixed. And the chief merit of the indigenous system of education was its adaptability to local environment and the vitality and popularity they had earned by centuries of existence under a variety of economic conditions. And most of the teachers were Brahmins and accepted teaching profession not for the profit in cash or kind, but more by the respectability which tradition gave it. Now let us read and discuss about education under the British. The British did not take any interest in the field of education for more than half a century. Century means period of 100 years. They were more focused on trade and profit. Means the modern education began in India under the British rule. Before the British, India had its own educational systems like the Gurukuls and the madrasas. The English East India Company, during their first 60 years of the rule, didn't care much about the education of those they ruled in India, as earlier their focus was just on trade and profit. But on the persuasion of Christian missionaries, they started taking interest in education. Missionaries means preachers, and the main motive of these Christian missionaries were to promote Christianity in India. They created an annual budget of 1 lakh rupees for education. This was done through the Charter Act of 1813. Means the Charter of 1813 was the first step towards education being made an objective of the government. The act sanctioned a sum of rupees 1 lakh towards the education of Indians in British ruled India. This act also gave an impetus to the missionaries who were given official permission to come to India. But there was a split in the government over what kind of education was to be offered to the Indians. And this charter led to the rise of Orientalists and Anglicists dispute. Dispute means conflict. The European scholars who favored the study of law, philosophy, and literature of the East or Orient were called Orientalists, and the scholars who favored Western education and imparted it through the medium of English were called Anglicists. Means the Orientalists preferred Indians to be given traditional Indian education. Some others, however, wanted Indians to be educated in the Western style of education and be taught Western subjects. So, a debate ensued, and after a long discussion, the result, however, came out in favor of the Anglicists. Debate means argument, ensued means took place. So, after the long discussions, the result was in favor of the scholars who favored the Western education and wanted to impart it through the medium of English. Lord Thomas Macaulay came with his famous Macaulay Minute. This supported the Anglicist viewpoint, and he was the law member of the Council of Governor General. Means after the long discussions and debates, Macaulay's system of education was introduced, and this system of education was introduced by Lord Macaulay in 1835. This system put Anglicists, and Orientalists debate to an end. And this system is also known as Lord Macaulay's Minute. William Bentinck, the Governor General at that time, supported Macaulay's perspective. Perspective means point of view. He passed the English Education Act in 1835. This declared that government funds would be utilized for the promotion of Western literature and science. The medium of instruction would be English. The English Education Act of 1835 was a legislative act of the Council of India, which gave effect to a decision in 1835 by Lord William Bentinck, then the Governor General of British India. So we can say that following Macaulay's Minute, the English Education Act of 1835 was introduced, and the decision was to make the English as the medium of instruction. The government opened high schools and colleges. English textbooks were produced for schools. The promotion of Oriental learning was stopped. Oriental learning means the academic field of study that embraces Near Eastern and Far Eastern societies and cultures, languages, etc. In 1844, the British government made English compulsory for government jobs. This resulted in a rush to study in English medium schools. Means after the English Education Act of 1835, the government opened high schools and colleges, and English was made the medium of instruction, and they started publishing all the textbooks in English. And in 1844, English was made compulsory by the British government, and the people started rushing towards the English medium schools. The main motive of the British government was to stop the promotion of Oriental learning, so they stopped the promotion of Oriental institutions like Calcutta Madrasa College and Sanskrit College. So we can say that one of the most outspoken and influential of such critics of the time was Thomas Macaulay. He saw India as an uncivilized country that needed to be civilized. No branch of Eastern knowledge, according to him, could be compared to what England had produced. With great energy and passion, Macaulay emphasized the need to teach English language. He felt that knowledge of English would allow Indians to read some of the finest literature the world had produced. It would make them aware of the developments in Western science and philosophy. Now the next topic is Wood's Dispatch of 1854. Dispatch means an official report. Before reading it from the book, let us discuss the main points. Wood's Dispatch of 1854 was a written document for the purpose of promoting education in India. This was introduced by Charles Wood in 1854, and it was the first comprehensive plan for the spread of education in India. It was considered as the Magna Carta of English education in India because it professed the promotion of the Western education in India. The Wood's Dispatch of 1854 brought further changes in education. It is known as the Wood's Dispatch after its author, Charles Wood. It emphasized on the practical benefits of Western learning system. Emphasized means focused. It also outlined the education policy to be followed in India. Basically, Sir Charles Wood was the president of the Board of Control who had an important effect on spreading English learning and female education in India. In 1854, he sent a dispatch or an official document to Lord Dalhousie. Lord Dalhousie at that time was the Governor General of India. And in that dispatch, Charles Wood suggested that primary schools must adopt vernacular or native languages. But at the college level, English must be the medium of instruction. This is known as Wood's Dispatch. The Wood's Dispatch highlighted the following benefits of Western education. Indians would be able to realize the benefits from the expansion of trade and commerce. Indians would be exposed to Western culture and lifestyle. This would lead to the creation of a new demand for English goods. Western learning would supply a new lot of skilled Indians to the company. Skilled means expert. They would be loyal and dependable administrators. This would save the company's resources. So the British wanted to introduce modern Western education to serve their economic interests, as English education would convince Indians about the superiority of British goods which were machine made, and it would make Indians recognize the advantage of trade and commerce. Secondly, Indians would recognize the importance of developing resources, and the modern education would bring about a change in their tastes and desires. The other important benefit of Western education that was highlighted in the Woods Dispatch was that English education would create a class of people who could be a part of civil service and serve their administrative purpose. And in this way, the British would save the company's resources. Now let us read and discuss about the effects of Western education. Effects means influences. In the beginning of 19th century, English was made the official language in India, and the British wanted the Indians to work as clerks at low wages. For this, the Indians needed to know English. Thus, many schools and colleges were established where the medium of education was in English, and the modern education like science, literature, and philosophy were also introduced. So, the British tried to promote the Western education in India, and the Western education had many positive as well as negative effects on India. Means there are merits as well as demerits of the Western education. Merits means advantages. The new system of education brought order and discipline in the pathshalas. Teaching was based on textbooks and children were tested through a system of examination. Means the Western education had brought discipline in the pathshalas or the schools, and the teaching was entirely based on the textbooks or the workbooks, and proper examinations were conducted to know about the capabilities of the children. Students had to pay regular fees, they had to attend classes regularly, the teacher too had to follow a fixed timetable and curriculum. Curriculum means syllabus. Besides, government pundits were appointed who were responsible for improving the standard of education in the pathshalas. So we can say that proper timetable and syllabus was given to the children as well as to the teachers, and proper classes were conducted, and the children had to attend the classes regularly and had to pay the fees. Other than this, to improve the standard of education in the schools, the government pundits were appointed. Further advancements took place in the Indian education system towards the end of the 19th century. During this period, social reformers played a very important role. Social reformers means the persons who work for change or betterment in the society. And the Indians learned new concepts of liberty, that is freedom, nationalism means feeling of love and pride for one's nation, and socialism, that means Samajwad, through Western education. This ultimately helped in attaining independence in 1947. So we can say that modern education and Western culture brought new ideas of liberty and nationalism among the Indians. They began to question some of the age-old customs and traditions that were followed by the Indian people. There was an emergence of social and religious reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Swami Dayanand Saraswati, Swami Vivekanand, etc. And finally, the spirit of nationalism and liberty helped in achieving independence in 1947. Now let us read and discuss demerits or disadvantages of the Western education. Education for all was not the aim of this new education system. The traditional Indian system of education started to decline. Decline means coming to an end. So the Western education had limitations too. It had disassociated Indian people from their traditional way of learning and living, their classical roots and indigenous knowledge. Along with it too faded the Indian values, philosophies and traditions. Major educational institutes were situated in big cities only. Small cities, towns and villages were neglected. Neglected means ignored. Education of girls was also neglected as there were only a few provisions for them. Provisions means facilities. So we can say that proper educational facilities were not provided by the British. Small cities, towns, villages and even girls were not given the facilities for education. This education system was not only rigid but also expensive. Rigid means inflexible and expensive means costly. The new education glorified the Western world. Glorified means promoted. Indians who were educated under the British system were groomed in the Western thoughts and science. Groomed means trained. So the Western education system was costly and it promoted the Western world. The students were trained in Western thoughts and science in the major educational institutions under the British system. They were not aware of Bhaskara, a famous Indian mathematician and astronomer, Aryabhata, the first of the major mathematician astronomers from the classical age of Indian mathematics and Indian astronomy, and Panini, a famous Sanskrit scholar in ancient India, and he was also considered as the father of linguistics. So we can say that the new education completely sidelined Indian contribution in the fields of literature and science. Now, the next topic is national education. But before reading it from the book, let us discuss the main points. During the British rule, many individuals and thinkers were thus thinking about the way a national educational system could be fashioned. Some wanted changes within the system set up by the British and felt that system could be extended so as to include wider sections of people, while others urged that alternative systems could be created so that people were educated in a culture that was truly national. So the main question was who was to define what was truly national? And the debate about what this national education ought to be continued till after independence. Now let us read from the book. Many people were not satisfied with the British education. It glorified Western science and culture. They advocated the need for an education that would encourage the youth to take pride in their own culture. Many Indians were against the British education. According to them, English education had enslaved the youth of the country. So they wanted the youth of the country to learn their own culture. And the first step in this direction was the setting up of the National Council of Education in 1906. The Indian National Council of Education was an organization founded by Indian nationalists or a group of political moderate leaders in Bengal in 1906. And Satish Chandra Mukherjee was the founder of the National Council of Education. The main aim of National Council of Education was to provide national line and national controlled education. Means it aimed to impart education through the vernacular medium while at the same time retained English as a compulsory second language. So main aim of the National Council of Education was to transmit the education through indigenous language and they wanted English to be continued as compulsory second language. There were also provisions for imparting technical education along with research in ancient Indian culture and art. This council set up several national institutions such as Jadavpur University in West Bengal, Bihar Vidyapeeth in Bihar, Kashi Vidyapeeth in Uttar Pradesh, and Jamia Millia Islamia in Delhi. And the enlightened Indians played a leading role in the spread of education as well. They insisted the government to stress on education and open more schools and colleges. People wanted to have much better education than that set by the British, and the two leaders who were very attached to it were Mahatma Gandhi and Rabindranath Tagore. Mahatma Gandhi was very critical of British education. According to him, English education made Indians see Western civilization as superior and their own as inferior. Means Mahatma Gandhi argued that colonial education created a sense of inferiority in the minds of the Indians. It made them see Western civilization as superior and destroyed the pride they had in their own culture. The Indians educated in these institutions gradually started admiring the British rule. He therefore urged students to leave British education and proposed an alternative which was popularly known as Nai Talim. Mahatma Gandhi believed that the Indians educated in the British institutions began admiring the British rule. They were charmed by the West and started appreciating everything that came from the West. But Mahatma Gandhi wanted an education that could help Indians recover their sense of dignity and self-respect. So he proposed Nai Talim. Nai Talim is a principle which states that knowledge and work are not separate. So he urged the students to leave educational institutions in order to show the British that Indians were no longer willing to be enslaved. He was in favor of an education system that would impart practical knowledge and make a person self reliant. Self reliant means independent. So we can say that Mahatma Gandhi strongly felt that Indian languages ought to be the medium of teaching. And according to him, Western education focused on reading and writing rather than oral knowledge. It valued textbooks rather than lived experience and practical knowledge. He argued that education ought to develop a person's mind and soul. Now let us read and discuss the views of Rabindranath Tagore on national education. Rabindranath Tagore was born in Kolkata, West Bengal. He was well-known Bengali poet, writer, music composer and painter. Rabindranath Tagore firmly believed that human beings are most creative and receptive in their natural surroundings. Creative means innovative and receptive means open-minded. A classroom with four walls would block the mind of the students. So, Rabindranath Tagore was of the view that creative learning could be encouraged only with a natural environment. He felt that childhood ought to be a time of self learning outside the rigid and restricting discipline of the schooling system. He believed that a classroom with four walls would block the mind of the students, and he felt that the existing schools killed the natural desire of the child to be creative. So he chose to set up his school named Shanti Niketan 100 kilometers away from Calcutta in a rural setting. He saw it as an abode of peace where living in harmony with nature, the children could cultivate their natural creativity. And this institution was opened in 1901, which later became a central university and was named Vishwabharati. So, in many senses, Rabindranath Tagore and Mahatma Gandhi thought about education in similar ways. There were, however, differences too. Gandhiji was highly critical of Western civilization and its worship of machines and technology, whereas Tagore wanted to combine the elements of modern Western civilization with what he saw as the best with the Indian tradition. Now, let us read and discuss about William Carey. William Carey, a Scottish missionary, came to India in 1793. Missionary means a person sent on religious mission, especially one sent to promote Christianity. He was a Scottish missionary means he was from Scotland, the part of United Kingdom, that is in Europe. He settled in a Danish colony at Serampur or Sri Rampur near Calcutta. Serampur used to be a Danish colony from 1752 till 1845, and the people who belonged to Denmark and Norway lived in the Danish colony at Serampur near Calcutta. William Carey started the Serampur Mission. Serampur Mission was India's first Christian missionary organization. William Carey and his two associates established this mission on January 10, 1800, and the mission started preaching the message of Jesus from two places in Hooghly district. In 1818, the Serampur College was established, and after that he also started a printing press in 1800. The printing press published the first Bengali printed translation of the New Testament. The New Testament is the second part of the Christian Bible. It comprises the life and teachings of Christ and his earliest followers. So we can conclude that William Carey was a Scottish missionary, translator, and social reformer who founded Serampur College and Serampur University. Now I hope today's topic is clear to you. Your today's homework is to learn the related terms and try to solve the related back exercises.